Episode 7, New to Hill Country. I'm your host, Michael Hines. I moved to Hill Country back in October of 2019, and this podcast is my way of exploring the region, getting to know a lot of other people, and that way, you can sit at home and get to know those people at the same time and figure out how you can get plugged in. Today's a great episode. We're talking to Mark Hampton. He is a real estate realtor over at Keller Williams. Mark has been in the area for a very long time, which he offers a lot of insight in this podcast on how you can go out, get involved in some really great stuff in the area, and feel like you're a part of, a greater part of this amazing community. Before we get to that, I'd like to talk about our sponsors a little bit, give them a little bit of love. Our first sponsor is SBG Texas. I am the owner and head coach of SBG Texas, where I teach martial arts, yoga, meditation for both kids and adults. If you don't know much about us and you want to know more, go check us out at www.sbgtexas.com. Also, our other sponsor is LMNT. LMNT is developed by Elemental Labs. It's an electrolyte mix. And, it's really just an amazing product. It's one of the easiest things to plug because I use it every day and I really believe in it. I think just a lot of people that suffer from electrolyte imbalances and, they go to get that hydration through these all these nasty sports drinks that are really just, they're soft drinks at the end of the day. They're not too far off from just drinking some soda. They're just too high in sugar at the end of the day. So Element just gets you the stuff that you need, increases that sense of hydration and makes it so you don't feel like you have to keep plugging away at 50 glasses of water a day in the summer heat. Perfect for down in hill country where we know it gets hot. So without further ado, we're going to get into talking with Mark. I hope you enjoy the show. Okay, and we should be live now. So welcome to the show. Today we are going to be talking with Mark Hampton, a real estate agent who's very integral to the operation of the New Braunfels area. He's helped us get our gym set up here. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Michael, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So, Mark, you and I have talked before, and I know that you've been a resident of this area for a long, long time. Can you talk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I'm going to kind of share with you my age when I do that. So, my dad was a coach, and we moved to New Braunfels when I was a little over 3, and that was 1958. So I grew up in New Braunfels since 1958. I went to schools here, public schools here. Graduated from New Braunfels High School. Went to what was Southwest Texas State University. It's now Texas State University, right down the road. And then wasn't quite ready, so I went into the service. Went to the Air Force.
Okay.
And then after that, I transferred out, went back to college, got my degree. And I worked with my dad, and then left again for about 2 years, and then came back. I've been in New Braunfels ever since. So it's
wow.
I've been here a while.
Okay. And what kind of really brought you back to New Braunfels? Why settle here? You'd been out and you came back. What brought you back, really?
Well, I mean, New Braunfels is home, and besides just being the home that you grew up in, but it's real comfortable. And you've got so much here when you're at the kind of the foothills of the hill country. You've got great scenery, you got great people. It wasn't too big or isn't too big. It's close to larger cities like San Antonio, Houston. You're within 2.5 hours of the coast. Just the scenery, the settings, the people. It's just a great place to live, work, and play.
And you've seen New Braunfels change, I would say, a great deal since you were a child. Can you kind of explain how that went from your perspective?
when did things start to change significantly? What were the biggest differences that you noticed? Because
Yeah.
the population has grown pretty significantly since that time, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I graduated from high school, which was like 1973,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the population was then. I want to say it was somewhere around between probably 16, 17,000, somewhere
I
in
see.
there. But, I've been in real estate now for 22 years. So let's go back to when I started in real estate in
Mm-hmm.
1998.
Mm-hmm.
The population in New Braunfels in 2000 was just a little over 32,000 people.
Huh.
And then fast forward to 2010, it jumped to about 58,000. And then
Wow.
if you fast forward to now in 2020, the population is right at about 90,000. So we've
Wow.
gone in 20 years from 32,000 to
Mm-hmm.
90,000, and that's a big growth. That's a big jump.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Wow. What do you feel accounts for that? Why such a huge leap?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things. Texas has got an incredible business economic climate that's friendly to businesses. They want people here, and then also New Braunfels itself, such a great place to, like I said earlier, to live, work, and play. I mean, you can live here, you can work here, and certainly you can play here with the two rivers, and then
Mm-hmm.
the lakes. We've got several lakes
Mm-hmm.
right here in close proximity to New Braunfels and in New Braunfels. So
Mm-hmm.
the parks, like Landa Park, is a fantastic park,
Mm-hmm.
and you've just got a lot of good things going on here in New Braunfels.
Sure. Sure. Well, that all makes sense. Hmm. So what do you like to do when you decide like you want to have a good time in New Braunfels? Like what's a night on the town for like Mark Hampton? Like what do you get up to?
Well, it's much different now. Mark
Sure.
Hampton, the father of an 18-year-old daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit older than most people that have an 18-year-old daughter. But it's just going out to eat at various restaurants, and you've got some really good restaurants here in New Braunfels. If you start with barbecue with Grand Zines,
Mm-hmm.
or if you've got Rudy's, or you've got Bill Miller's, Cooper's, Blacks, and those are some good barbecue restaurants. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you wanted a better dining and stuff, or as good or better dining, is like the Weishatch Grill downtown New Braunfels, and you've got Krause's, and then upper scale you've got Myron Steakhouse. So you've got McAdoo's is really good. There's so many, I can't name
Mm-hmm.
them all, but there
Sure.
are
Sure.
really some good ones. The Real is another place that's really good.
Okay.
So and then I can't leave out Mexican restaurants. My goodness,
Sure.
you got
Sure.
the
Sure.
you got the Adobe, you got Dos Rios. Goodness, you've got a whole bunch of them. So I'm probably going to make some people mad by leaving their name out on this, but a
No, but I
lot
know
of
what
good
you mean.
stuff.
There's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah,
out there.
and
Yeah.
you even got Green. How can I
Mm-hmm.
forget Green? You've got Green Hall, which is
Mm-hmm.
we have some big name people that entertain and play there, and then you've got some really good restaurants in Green
Mm.
to go and eat at and just play. So
Sure.
good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Um, you're a real estate agent. You said you've been a real estate agent for 22 years. Did I get that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. What drew you into real estate?
Well, like I said, I worked for my dad. We used
Mm-hmm.
to back in the late '70s and into the '80s. We had managed the tube chute here in New Braunfels, and
Mm-hmm.
I worked for my dad, and then I went to work in the corporate world and worked for actually the textile plant here in New Braunfels for 7 years, and
Okay.
went through kind of a corporate downsizing there, and went
Mm-hmm.
to an Owens Corning plant facility where I was a production manager at the plant, and then went through another downsizing there. So then I just thought, there's something better for me, and I want to get back to being my own boss.
Sure.
And so I saw people that were having success in real estate, and I thought, if those people can do it, so can I. And so I
Good
just
attitude.
I plugged myself in. I wasn't married at the time. My wife Sharon and I were engaged, and she without her I couldn't have done it, because she's been very supportive. She said, if you want to do that, jump into it, and I'll make sure that we're okay. She's been in real estate for 35 years, but we don't work together. She does something a little bit different than what I do. But I just plug myself in to the real estate industry and try to be a sponge. Just try to absorb information from people and learn as much as possible. But probably the biggest thing that's helped me in my success has been, of all things, to be involved. And that covers a whole broad basis of involvement. So I've been very involved with the Realtors Association at the local level, the state level, and even at the national level, and serving on committees and in leadership and stuff. And so for many years, I've served. I was on the executive board with the state association for 4 years, and been just very involved in that. And then that kind of led me into being more. I've been involved in the community. Besides my church, being involved in my church, but being involved with the Chamber of Commerce. So I was fortunate enough to serve on the chamber board for 8 years, and I was also very fortunate to be chair of the board in 2014. So, you just the reason why you get involved, it's just to kind of give back and to some degree to your profession, to your community. But it's been a great learning tool. I mean, you learn about people, you learn about business, you learn about your community, and then there's a lot of different. There's a couple of different things that I've kind of borrowed from other people in regards to involvement. If you're going to you really need to be involved in your profession and in your community if you want to give your business and your profession a chance to succeed. Because there's a saying that says, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're likely going to be on the menu. So we're like, yeah, and it's so true, because in the Realtors Association, I've served on several committees and been fortunate enough to chair several of them. We feel like that we want to have a seat at the table. We want to be involved in the conversations that affect our business and our communities. And if you're not involved in those discussions, then there's possibility that decisions are made that are going to adversely affect your business and your profession. So that's why it's so critical to be involved. And then, of course, the other thing about involvement, it's, there's so many different sayings. You win friends and influence people. So, I've always said it's about it's about involvement and influence and having the opportunity to have a positive impact on what you do and on other people. And, Michael, if you look at what we're faced with today with this coronavirus and everything, people need each other. And if you by being involved and helping others, it's such a necessity, and it's so critical. So anyhow, that's
agreed. What would you say, like, for someone who's listening to this and they have a business in the area, or even if they don't have a business in the area, what would be some really straightforward, actionable steps to get involved? Like, how do I get a seat at the table, basically?
Well, obviously the New Braunfels, the Greater New Braunfels Chamber of Commerce is a really good platform, I think, to meet a lot of people. Right now, with all the restrictions that are in place here at the end of April, beginning of May, it's It's a little bit different, but
Mm-hmm.
but when things are back to normal, there's a lot of functions, a lot of opportunities to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
They have a ton of committees. I say a ton. I want to say there's about somewhere between 14 and 18 committees that they
Okay.
have that you can serve on. It gives you an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to be involved. It gives you an opportunity to meet people, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's a good foothold for me. My faith in God
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
My church is a critical cornerstone. It's the foundation of me and my
Mm-hmm.
family. I don't use my church as an opportunity to do business. That's not what I do. I don't do that. But by being there, being by getting nutrition from church, if you would,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, spiritual nutrition, um, it certainly has been a huge benefit to me and my family, and that
Sure.
goes into everything that we do. And
I
so
understand.
you meet lots of people there, um,
Mm-hmm.
because, like I say, people need people. Um,
Sure.
but
Sure.
and then, of course, there's other organizations in New Braunfels. There's so many. New Braunfels is a great community for involvement. You've got
Mm-hmm.
charitable organizations that you can get involved in. As an
Mm-hmm.
example, like Steve's Pantry
Mm-hmm.
is a really good organization that helps feed the homeless.
Mm-hmm.
It provides them with the facility to wash their clothes and take a shower.
I
Um,
see.
so they need volunteers, and they need funds, and they need food and clothing. So
I see.
there's a good example.
Uh-huh. That's
And
great.
there's a lot of others like that too.
Hmm. Cool. Cool. And like, if I wanted to go volunteer at Steve's Pantry, is
Uh,
it pretty much just on a walk-in basis? A person can just walk in and ask how they can be of service, and people will plug you
yeah,
right in.
I think right now, walking in, you can certainly
Oh,
try to do
sure,
that.
sure,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but they're based out of over off of the Green Methodist Church, which is
Okay.
over off of kind of Common Street,
Mm-hmm.
306 area right over there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a site over there.
I see.
Yeah, it's kind of around the corner from my church. I go to Cross Lutheran Church and School,
Okay.
which is where I go to church. So
I see.
anyway, so
Oh, great, great. Okay, cool. No, it's great to help people have some sort of actionable step of what they can do. And yeah, one of the things we look to do at my gym as well is to have some community outreach and stuff. And as we establish ourselves, we're hoping to have more systematic ways to get our gym members involved and things like that. So we're always looking for more stuff like that.
well,
Uh,
Michael, right around the corner from your gym is also the New Braunfels Food Bank,
right.
and so those folks are always looking for volunteers too. So, and it's great for they. I think they have opportunities for youth to
Hmm.
to be plugged in over there. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, that's right around the corner from your gym.
Right, right. Yeah, I drive by it all the time. I wasn't really sure how easy or hard it would be to just pop in there, but yeah, we will be giving that a go at some point.
Uh
So,
huh.
hmm. So tell me a little bit more about, like, if I'm looking to rent a space, lease a space, or buy a space here in New Braunfels. Like, what's my best first step?
Uh, First step is to. I'm going to be biased here. You should really contact a good commercial realtor.
Okay. And then
Really, and there's a difference between a real estate agent and a realtor.
okay.
A realtor is a member of the National Association of Realtors, and they adhere to a strict code of ethics.
Okay.
Not that real estate agents that aren't realtors don't do that,
Hmm.
but there, well, I just there's a. I mean, I take it seriously, and I know
Hmm.
so do a lot of other colleagues that are,
Hmm.
whether with my company or our company or with another company. I know
Hmm.
they take it serious. So having a good commercial realtor is important, because if you're going to look for a space, you want to make sure that you know what you're getting into, know what the make sure that the property that you're looking at is zoned properly for what you're going to want to use it for.
I see.
And so there, and then you also want to look out for conditional issues that you want to make sure that you're protected in that. So anyhow.
Yeah, I know that working with you was a godsend for us, because we initially came in and, I had very little experience. So I was just trying to look at properties on my own. And that was really overwhelming, really fast. And more so once I started talking to the counterparties on my own, and they were hitting me with information that I didn't know what they were talking about, and they were kind of, and you and I won't name any names, but that we know from our experience, like there was a one in particular that was basically just trying to basically fast talk me into a negotiation and put me in a very precarious situation. And luckily, we got a hold of you and we were able to actually kind of parse out even what he was talking about, really, because a lot of the stuff was just, I know how to run a gym, but it doesn't necessarily mean I know the particulars of a real estate contract, and they're the devil's in the details, as they say. So it was good to have somebody fighting in my corner.
Yeah, it's I know the situation that you're referring to. So it's and we won't name names and stuff, but so I fortunately in that situation I had some personal experience and knowledge with and I said we probably want to avoid that area and that company and stuff. But anyway, it's the other thing is that like I mentioned, conditional issues, having some experience and knowledge as far as like your HVAC systems and plumbing and electrical and all of that. And if you're not careful, you can get committed into something that's really going to be, kind of financial or a huge financial burden for you. So I think in your case, we did our homework and protected ourselves pretty well.
Sure. I think we did a really good job of that. And I think the contract that we have set up was really helpful, especially given what happened with Corona and things like that. Even though we didn't plan it with that in mind, we ended up in a very good situation as a result.
I agree. I think when you say it's a godsend, I think in many, many ways it was for both of us, because we pressed for some special things in your particular lease, and that's worked out it's been a protection for us, really.
Sure. Well, how do people get a hold of you, Mark? Like, if someone was interested in procuring your services, talk me through that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I work for a really good company. It's the number one real estate firm in the world. And it's the number one, of course, if it's number one in the world, it's number one in the United States and in Texas and in New Braunfels. And I'm not saying that to be demeaning to our competition. Not saying that at all. But Keller Williams is it's not on the New York Stock Exchange. It's the employees, me and others. We own the company. We own, so it's a really good opportunity. It's like no other. And so their philosophy is faith, family first, and I'm sure others do that too. But I was with another firm for 19 and a half years and came over here almost 2.5 years ago. And what a huge difference it's been for me and my family. But Keller Williams here in New Braunfels, we have 2 offices. For me personally, just call me on my cell phone, which is 210-823-8611. And then if you wanted to email me, this is really simple. It's Mark, Mark, at markhamptonhomes.com. That's Mark at markhamptonhomes.com.
Can you spell Hampton for people just in case?
Yeah,
Because sometimes,
sure.
yeah.
It's kind of like the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
Hampton, and then homes is plural,
Great,
HOMES.com. Mark at
great.
markhamptonhomes.com. And my website's easy. If you're, it's just real simple. It's www.newbraunfels, all spelled out, homes.com. New Braunfels, Texas, homes.com. It's real simple.
Oh, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, anyway, there's a couple of things that, if I've got time for this,
You've got plenty of time, yeah.
Share with you. I mean, really, my faith is my cornerstone, and that's what sustains me in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just say this much. There's been a couple of sayings that a good friend of mine said a long time ago. She said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. So think about that. And then, of course, if you wanted to look at scripture in the chapter of Luke 12, verse 23, verse 34. It's real simple because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Luke 12, verse 34, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So, I think, if, you got, God provides for you in many ways. If you're just serving other people, you'll be taken care of. And I think that philosophy in all business is something that people need to adhere to. You're there to serve. You're there to serve other people, and in your serving other people, you'll be, provisions will you'll be taken care of. And so, and that, I mean, look at what we're faced with today. How true. I mean, that should be even magnified more now.
Sure.
I don't like what we're having to deal with. I feel for people. But it's also a really it's a tremendous opportunity to share your faith and your beliefs with others. So anyway.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple things there that you touched on. I mean, I don't think anyone hoped for the coronavirus situation to take place. And this podcast may publish sometime after the lockdown has ended. It's hard to say when exactly we'll publish it, but everyone will remember it for sure. And I think, at the end of the day, we get certain situations put in front of us, and it's really up to us at the end of the day whether we construct them as opportunities, or we take them as, oh, this is this setback, and there's, we don't, and that's really just a matter of perspective. And it's simple to say, I suppose, but I really believe in that kind of thing of just, your perspective dictates outcomes. And you see a lot of people who just, with the same hardship, one person turns that into, like $1 million franchise or something like that. The same hardship, somebody else, that becomes depression and alcoholism or something. So, your perspective going, and I'm not trying to say that people made the wrong choices or anything, but just always trying to take that perspective that whatever situation arises, this is you can either try to find the opportunity in it, or you can kind of just let it overwhelm you. And I think it is important to take that perspective of what is the opportunity. And for you, you're saying like, this is your opportunity to share your faith, the thing that you care about the most, with other people. And I think that's awesome. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch on that I liked what you said was the sharing aspect of business, that you're there to give service to people. And just as you know about me, I was a professor for the last decade or so, and this is me transitioning into business. And I tended to take a pretty when you're a professor, you kind of have an aloof sort of attitude towards business, because you're as a professor, you have to be, above all of that. That's the goal, sort of. And I don't know, the deeper I go into business, though, a lot of people have that attitude of like, oh, good business practices, and they hear something kind of slimy. They hear something kind of like how to take advantage of people. But just my genuine opinion is the deeper I explore really sound business systems that are going to be consistent profit in terms of profit generation over time, not like short run type of stuff, but just consistent over time. And it's always about providing greater value to people.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you break it down, sometimes it sounds very strategic, but if you start reading between the lines and you're sharp enough to see it, generally what you see coming out is just a better apprehension of what people want and a better apprehension of how to deliver that to people.
Right.
And that's good business at the end of the day. So people get that kind of like, oh, business, they hear the word business and they hear something really negative. And yeah, some businesses have definitely earned that. But I think really good business comes from how much value are you able to give to people, and are you giving them the value that they want? So
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
That is so true. When I've had the opportunity to go around different parts of the state and talk to other realtors associations, and one of the things I tell the agents, I go, hey, this business is a service oriented business.
Mm-hmm.
You're providing service to your customers. You're even providing service to the public in general, and even people maybe that you don't represent, but you're providing a service. It's not about you. It's about them and the community in which you live in. And so, the golden rule, you treat others the way you would like to be treated. I mean, how can you go wrong if that's your cornerstone of how you conduct your business and what your business is about? If you're treating others the way you would like to be treated, I don't think you can miss.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. So I've got an 18-year-old daughter, Aubrey Ann. She's our only child, and we sent her to Cross Lutheran school, which is a private Christian school where we go to church. And she started at the age of pre-K 3, so at 3.
Oh, wow.
Went all the way through 8th grade, which is as far as they go. And that was a great, boy, it was fantastic. It just, man, if parents have the opportunity to send their kids to a church school, that would be one that I would recommend.
Okay.
Because it's what they gain in value there will stay with them the rest of their life. I mean, you talk about this coronavirus thing. My daughter is a senior in high school, and she has a lot of reason to be moaning and complaining because she's worked extremely hard and done very well with her academics. And the recognition that she so deserves is just kind of going by the wayside here. One of this, yeah, I know.
That's horrible.
So, yeah. So fortunately for her, she about a year ago, she started a part-time job at HEB. So she's for over a year now. She's been a cashier at HEB, and that she's got a lot of pride in that, and I'm very proud of her for sticking in there when in this adversity, when a lot of people would be. I quite frankly, I'm a little worried about it sometimes because you got there. So anyway, I'm just kind of coming back to the basis, your foundation, and your beliefs and everything. It ties into everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, it's been great having you here on the show. And is there anything more that you'd like to share with people, or we're kind of feel like we're winding down here?
No, I feel like I've talked way too much.
No. And I mean, it's a podcast. People have to talk. Like someone's got to be talking, right? So that's what people tune in for, is to listen to someone else have a conversation with them. So
I will share this with you real quick.
Sure.
When I was chair of the board, I got to pick kind of the theme for the year, and everything. And so when I was chair of the board in 2014, it was teamwork today determines success tomorrow.
Nice.
And then the following year was a good friend of mine, Joe Costilleja, and his theme was New Braunfels, a great place to live, work, and play.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of shared all of that stuff with you.
Sure,
But it's,
sure.
it's so true.
No, I feel that. Yeah.
So if you don't live in New Braunfels, then shame on you. But it's a fantastic place, and it's a great people here. So
I agree. Well, thank you, Mark, for everything. We really appreciate hearing from you, and maybe we'll have you back on the podcast again some other day. So
yeah, good deal. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate it.
All right. Well, take care, Mark.
All right. Okay.